today we're talking about SupplyPike for Target. Clint is the brains behind SupplyPike for Target. He is running it, and it's really exciting to see how much Target has grown and changed our product over the last few months since I've been here. I think we released it right after I started, so I've been kind of like here.
Growing up together. We're growing up together.
Yes, me and SupplyPike for Target are growing up together in our SupplyPike years. But yeah, there's a lot of new kind of fun features and exciting things to talk about that Clint and his team have been working really hard on, especially over the last couple months. So we love this product. We're really excited about it. And yeah, we're going to spend about half an hour in it.
Real quick, I think I see some familiar names, but if you guys are already users of our Target app or any of our other SupplyPike apps, that would be helpful to know as we're kind of going through. That way I can make sure I don't miss some of the more advanced or cooler things that we do. So thank you. Yeah. Another Okra proponent in the chat there, Peter.
Oh, good. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, this is us. Yeah, we just did our
Yes, I've already kind of introduced us. Clint is our Kroger and Target guy here, kind of runs from a product management perspective. So he does a little bit of everything. He's kind of seeing the whole process through. And I am on the supplier wiki team, which means that I'm a part of the group of people who create these webinars and our ebooks, our articles, any of the content that we're putting out to help you guys. So for Clint, if you have questions about the product, those are perfect for him. For me, if you have other suggestions about things that you'd like to see, other kinds of things you'd want to see covered in webinars, whether it's about Target, Amazon, Kroger, or Walmart, I am the person for those suggestions, because we are in that whole world. But with Target especially, what is it that you want to know about? What is it that you want to learn about with that product or related to being a supplier in Target?
Yeah, definitely let us know. And don't forget to check out supplierwiki.com.
Yes. All right. So a little bit of an introduction. This is probably old news for all of you on this call. But if you're not as familiar with SupplyPike, we're a software as a service company designed to help suppliers become their best supplier selves in retailers, but especially Target, Walmart, Amazon, and Kroger. So these are some of our partners right here that we're really proud to work with. There are a few more very exciting ones coming down the pipeline as well, as what we hear. But yes, we're really proud of the work that we do. We started out just kind of with Walmart AP deductions, and we've been growing and growing ever since then into different areas to try to cover as much of the revenue loss space as possible. So we want to be able to make sure that you guys can hold on to as much of that revenue as possible.
Cool. And Taylor, you've got a question. We'll get to that in just a moment, Taylor.
All right, a few FAQs. Again, maybe review for a lot of you who have been here before. You will get a copy of the slide deck. Won't be as important for this one because this is mostly just going to be in-app stuff. So, but if you want a copy of the slide deck, you will be getting that in about 3 to 4 business days. We'll also be sending out a recording of this. We put all of our webinars on YouTube now. So if you want to watch it back, kind of go through, follow Clint through the app, and or send it along to your boss or to another partner to see, like, is this something that we're interested in? All of that will be available in about 3 to 4 business days. Also, you guys are already using the chat and the Q&A functions, which is great. Basically, we just want to kind of reiterate that Q&A is for the question stuff, so we can kind of parse those out and know kind of at which point of the webinar would it be most appropriate to ask this question, or should we save it for the end if it's a more general question? And then the chat is for everyone. So if you have any comments about okra, any really strong okra opinions, that's what the chat is for. If you have any, sorry.
Fried, cornbreaded, fried squash. Come on.
Yeah. Any other recipes you'd like to share? That's what the chat is for. Sometimes we'll ask you guys a question. I'd imagine that with the app, right, there may be a few kinds of things that come up. What is it that you're seeing the most in terms of your deductions? Is TVI something that you're struggling with, or whatever the kind of question that we have for you may be? That's the public space where you can answer that. But yeah, that's the difference between those two. All right, here, I'll just turn it over to Clint for now, and I will see y'all later.
Okay, so we're going to jump into the app here in a moment, but just quick recap over new stuff that's come recently. So we've got these health metrics over here. Those are new for everybody across almost all of our retailer apps. Just helping you understand, like, hey, yeah, we've got some money back, but like, what else is kind of going on? Like, hey, how long does it take to dispute things? What do our deductions represent against our total amount of invoices? How many deductions have we cleared versus how many are out there? And how many documents have been prepped for anything that's been made ready to dispute? So above kind of the normal like breakdown and status stuff that we have on our dashboard. So that's new. Unpaid invoice, disputing, and all the proof documents that go with those, and all the nice bells and whistles you might know from our deduction side. Those are all pretty much there for invoice disputing now. We launched at the very, very end of Q1, did a lot of improvements and enhancements along that for that side of our app during Q2. We also rolled out some validity judgments at the very end of Q2 for returns. So if you've got like A004s or 139s or A147s, A242s, and I'll show this in app, but you can use the validity filter. It's on the list view. You click the readiness button, click into like the validity dropdown, pick out likely and valid, and that'll show you judgments based on like, is this actually our item? Sometimes it's not, or Target, maybe it's your item, but Target uses the wrong item number. You can dispute those. And then sometimes Target uses the wrong policy. You can also dispute those, and we're trying to make that known to you so you can dispute those, because oftentimes return deductions, there's a lot of them, and they're not often for big dollar amounts on a per deduction basis, kind of paper cutty. So they often get ignored. But if you've got software to cut through that and pick out all the little invalid ones for you, you can get money back that way. So, and then we'll talk more about this on the invoice side. We just made it so you're able to archive invoices that maybe don't actually need to be paid for a variety of reasons, but we'll get into that. Yeah, and the main point of what we're trying to build here is software that's super easy to use and very intuitive. So if you see anything in the app like, hey, this could be a little simpler, or this could be easier, or I don't quite understand, why this thing is here, like definitely that's the kind of feedback we want to know. So either drop that in the chat or send us an email, or next time you have a check-in with any of your customer success folks, then definitely bring that up, because we want to make our software easy. And upcoming features. So Taylor, you asked, hey, are we going to see vendor compliance deductions disputed through SupplyPike soon? Yes, you are. That's a big thing that my team is working on for Target for Q3. So hopefully sometime in the next 2 or 3 months, you'll be able to see that start coming online. And then additional validity judgments for returns, just kind of enhancing that a bit more, because it's kind of like a 1.0 thing. And so we've got some enhancements to make our validity judgments around returns better, as well as trying to start doing validity around shortage deductions. If you're familiar with our Walmart software, very similar to that. So yeah, but we will hop into the application at this point. Here it is. So this is our demo account. And if you've been using SupplyPike for a little bit, you might know this, hey, this left navigation thing is kind of new. And yeah, we just wanted to make it easier. So you've still got your switcher over here. So if you have multiple vendor IDs with Target, you can flip between those here. But also if you're in multiple retailers with us, you can quickly navigate between those. But yeah, like we said, we've got our deductions health cards up here. So letting you understand, hey, what have you disputed with us? What have you won back? how many things have you auto or bulk disputed? What are the documents that go with those? So out of 285 auto prep deductions, 1,400 documents go with those. That's a lot of time savings. If you think about, what you would have to do to go retrieve 1,400 shipping documents with something, right? Or invoice PDFs, that kind of stuff. So we love calling out like all the cool automation that we're doing there. And yeah, on our dashboard, we're giving you a quick highlight of, hey, what's the total amount of deductions you've ever received based on the time range we've scraped. So usually we have about 18 months to 2 years with Target. It varies a little bit. They're a little inconsistent, but generally it's about 18 months to 2 years of data. Works telling you what's still on the table to dispute, largely based on that kind of 18-month dispute window with Synergy, their dispute portal, and telling you how much has already been approved to pay back, and then what's your win rate on a dollar basis. So like of that 266, that's kind of your results, where that 83 comes back. Your denied is going to be in the denominator, and then your paid and approved is going to be in that numerator. So yeah, anything that's kind of done, that's what it's looking at out of everything you've disputed. And then your status, okay, we've got 1.9 million almost dollars here in this demo account example that could be disputed. Maybe some of that's valid, maybe some of it's invalid. You're not going to tell that from here just yet. If any of that you decide you don't want to dispute, you would have an option to move it over here. Things you have disputed and you're waiting on Target to make a decision, that's in the Target research bucket. If Target ever sends it back to you asking for more information, you would see totals here in the supplier action status. And that would be Target saying, hey, we need different proof or additional proof, or, generally that's what they're asking for, but they'll put it back to you. And we show that now in our app with the supplier action status, and you can respond in app to those. And again, approved and paid, you can keep those together if you want with this little toggle. And then the denied amount, and you can redispute. We'll get into that. So if you have anything here, hopefully you can take some of that, try again, and move it over to this side. We give you this breakdown by reason code. So, carton shortages, damages, for the A176 auto chargebacks, we interpret those for you to tell you, hey, is this actually a carton shortage or is it a cost difference? And unpaid invoices, that's kind of a relatively new thing here, so calling that out as well. And then we've got some quick buckets, so you can see, all right, do we have a lot of paper cuts, or are they all relatively biggish? So in this example, there are not very many paper cuts, so that's pretty good. Deductions over time, so check those trends, and we've got these little filters that kind of follow you down the page, so you can filter and see, oh, like what's our, okay, maybe most of our, since we see there's a lot here for the reason codes of unpaid invoice, it makes sense that you would see a lot down here, and that trend kind of matches when you filter for just that. You can see, how's that different with carton shortages? Okay, a little bit different. So quite a bit of carton shortages back in second half of 2022 by the count of them. You can also change that to the amount of them as well. And then calling out specific items that might be getting the most deductions, as well as locations. So if you need to share with like a, your sales team or someone like, hey, we get a lot of deductions, or your logistics team or your warehouse teams, we get a lot of deductions on this one or two particular items. Is there anything we could do differently in how we package those and send those, or label those, or palletize those? Somehow, is there anything we could do differently between those items and the other items to maybe reduce those deductions? Same thing for locations. Like, okay, if we see we're getting a lot of deductions for a DC 557 in Wisconsin, do we know that there's a known consolidator or carrier issue that's causing those? Or is there something about the labeling that we could do extra to make sure double, triple, quadruple check orders going through any of these problem DCs? Like, how can we reduce the possibility for errors and miscounting on Target side? And if they're going through consolidators, how can you make it as simple as possible so things don't go wrong and you don't get deductions? And if you ever need any of this in a spreadsheet, you can export it. It comes into an Excel file here. This is what it looks like right there. And we tried to format this so that if you do ever need to reproduce any of our charts, hopefully it's a pretty simple thing to do. I used to spend a lot of time in Excel. I still do these days, but in my previous role, I did a ton of analytics and spent a lot of time in Microsoft Excel. So I knew what I wanted from like, okay, if I need to reproduce some of these charts, let me make sure it's easy to do and I don't have to manipulate the data myself, so we can see, oh, okay, like this matches our chart here on the deductions over time. So if you do need to do any of that kind of custom analysis, hopefully it's easier to do based on how the data is already formatted for you. So, all right. So that's kind of the dashboard in a nutshell. We'll get into our deductions here. Okay, so this is where most of the actual action happens. I love our dashboard because that's where we have all the aggregated data, and I love looking at aggregated data and picking out trends, and you've got all those big hard numbers to report on, so that's fun. But when you actually need to dispute things, that's where this page, we call this the list view. It's just a giant table, basically. That's where you can actually start to take action on things. So let's say we want to take care of some of these carton shortages. We can filter for a specific code or a group of codes, or a few different codes all at once. So we've got some carton shortages here. Let's see if any of them are ready to dispute. So I can click readiness and ready. And yeah, okay, looks like all of them are, so that's great. And we're going to see here when we click into one real quick, this is the code, what it means. This is Target's document number, so the chargeback that you'll see on like a check line. This is the purchase order it's related to. This is your invoice number that it's related to. Here's how much it's for, and here's when the deduction happened. We're on this actionable tab, so that means it has not yet been disputed, and we can see the status here is not disputed. There's nothing in disputed, approved, denied. All those check, check, check. That makes sense. So let's take a look in one of these real quick and see some of the details that we're providing from a few different places within Partners Online. So like I said, here's your high level info on it's a deduction, it's a shortage. Here's the document number, the amount, the date. Here's the specific items. Look like it's just one item in this case. We've made up our own items here, rubber towels, not real, but fun. And here's a PO that it's related to, the date, the invoice, the date, the invoice amount, the receipt number. So this is your appointment ID that turns into the receipt ID when Target receives the goods. When that's available, we pull in the Target's delivery receipt, so their copy of the proof of delivery. We have those examples attached here. We often have those for deductions, so you can check to see, like if you're a collect vendor, there will be multiple vendors on your delivery receipt oftentimes, and you can find your name and check to see, if this were vendor 5 in this case, we would see, oh, okay, they think they're short by two cases or 2 something, depending on how they're counting the units there. But we pull those in automatically and attach them here, as well as we set up shipping document integrations. So, when we see, oh, we've got this PO number here, all right, let's see if we can find the associated bill of lading that goes with that purchase order number. We bring those in here and attach them as well, because that's a very useful piece of proof document to have to tell Target, hey, when you picked it up or when we delivered it, here were the amounts, so we're not actually short. We provide a copy of your invoice when we have access to like the latest 6 months of EDI data in Partners Online. So like we'll have all that going forward, and we'll have the latest 6 months of history to go with those, and Target's chargeback document itself. So we pull those in from the accounts payable app in Partners Online, attach it here, and we take all this information off the PDF and try to make it a little nicer to look at here on the page. And when you want to dispute one of these, this one says, hey, it's ready to dispute. You've got all the recommended documents. Let's say we unchecked one of these, like the bill of lading. Okay, we're missing one. It's recommended. So we'll recheck that box. And oh, I have found a bug with our demo account. Okay, make a note of that. Oh, it just took a moment. Let's test that again. Yeah, so it's not ready. Now it is ready. Interesting. Okay. But here we go. You can change these amounts if you knew some portion of that was valid and you only wanted to dispute the invalid part. Change your amount, change your type if maybe target by default got it wrong somehow, or you just want to dispute some aspect of it beyond what was listed. You can do that here. We have a default message here, please repay. You can certainly provide more information. And if you want to say something like, please repay, please see page 3 of BOL and compare to page 2 of the delivery receipt. You can give that level of information if you want. It can be helpful to reduce the amount of effort Target has to put out to kind of dig and validate on their side, but you don't have to. Plenty of vendors, and we're working with, we've got about 230 different Target vendors we're working with. And so, plenty of them get repaid without doing any extra effort. They just use kind of the default message of please repay there and they get paid back. But if you can provide extra info, it can be useful. But once you're done adding any of this, you can add a note for your team. This only stays in SupplyPike. It does not go anywhere else. So if you have multiple users on your team, you can leave a note and say, related to some shipping initiative.
I didn't get that.
Oh, sorry, my watch came on. Shipping initiative for a holiday program. You can do that kind of thing. And that's only seen by your team. And you can delete that if you made a mistake, need to try it again. But when you're ready, submit dispute. And it's on its way to Synergy. And when it's in kind of submitting status, once it's confirmed over there, we will update this page here and provide a case number. So this was 4678-20300. So we will clear this. And it's not at the top anymore. Let's filter for that A030. Yeah, he's not here. So let's check our in progress and see if it's over here. Can we sort by our dispute date for today? Yeah, here it is. And this row is kind of highlighted. It's shaded a little dark gray. So that tells you, oh, I was just here. So you can hop in there and see like, okay, it's got a still in submitting. Once it has a case number, it'll update and give us that case number. But it's on the in progress bucket now. So we know we've done our part. We've sent it to Target. We're waiting on Target to pass the judgment, make a response. And real quick, I'll just point out, we have all these filters, which are fun to play with. So like I said, different statuses. So if we had any supplier action, we would see those codes. You can filter for files with certain things or files without certain things. And let's say we want to see things that don't have maybe don't have a proof of delivery. Do we have any of those? Yeah, we've got some of those. Let's say we knew we needed those, if we're like a prepaid vendor instead of collect, you could export, and your export here is going to be just what's filtered. So we're only going to get these 58. And let's trim that down to just the cost difference codes. Okay, just 4. If you needed to get that information to someone so they could provide you with those proof of deliveries, you can click export. We'll give you this file. Let me pull it up over here. And you'll see all this information that we're providing from various parts of Partners Online. So if they need that PO number, here it is. If they need the invoice, here it is. If they need the locations or like what was this deduction, they've got it here. And we'll also provide, like, sometimes we have like the SCAC number or the SCAC code, the BOLs, the loads, trailer IDs. When those are available, we provide those. It's not here in our demo account because we haven't replicated that demo data, but giving you receipt dates and numbers when they're available from Target. Hopefully the receipt location matches the location that it was supposed to be for on the deduction and PO. Sometimes they don't, so that's useful to figure out. And then when, stuff happens along the process of disputing and approval and payment and check numbers, we'll have all of that here for you, as well as did you dispute it through us? And then what type of documents were used and available and versus what's recommended. So we're calling all that out for you. So if you need to share any of that across teams, hopefully it's right here at your fingertips in the export as well. Cool. So that's a whirlwind on kind of the basic side of the deductions. I'm going to hop over here now to our invoices side. That's kind of a newer side. And oh, I was in here playing around earlier. Let's go back to the actionable side. So what we're doing is we're looking in Partners Online in a couple of places to see, okay, for all the invoices Target says they've received, can we tell any of them are past due? And we do this a few ways. So in Partners Online, your payment terms can be difficult to get to. We do have this here in our settings. And in Partners Online, they live in this app called Vendor Management and Maintenance under each different vendor ID your company has. And that could be like, 30 days. If the Target pays within 30 days, they get a 2% discount or something. That's a pretty common one. But some people have payment terms of 7 days if they're like fresh food, or payment terms of 120 days on the longer side. But we're using whatever those payment terms are to figure out, okay, if this invoice was sent on 4/13, what should that due date be? And then we add 14 days to that. So even though the due date here was 7/12, on 7/13, we would not have marked this past due. We would have added 14 days to that just to allow for like, sometimes Target commonly pays a day or two late. And also there can be a difference in the timing. So a vendor may start counting the due date from when they sent the invoice, but Target may start counting the payment terms from when they received the goods. So we give a 2-week window to allow for some of that variance. So we would not have marked this as past due until 12 plus 14, so that would have been the 26th. So yesterday we would have marked this past due. And same thing for any of these other ones listed here, we would have waited 14 days. And we do have all invoices, so we're kind of keeping track, like Target has these different statuses. And if you're ever kind of curious, like, wait, what are these different statuses? We have a lot of really good help articles. So specifically around unpaid invoices, because it's kind of a new thing, right? So if you're ever curious, like, what are the invoice statuses? What do these mean? We've got these help articles here to go along. So, right, past due, we're telling you about that. We just made an update to make that 14 days earlier this week, so I need to update our documents here. Good thing I found this. But unprocessed means Target, they haven't matched that to a receipt. So that's always an interesting one. It frequently does flip over to past due if they never match it. Open, that means that they have acknowledged they're going to pay it, but they just haven't paid it. And then these are kind of the standard. If you're going to dispute it, you'll see these. And hopefully payment happens business as usual. But if it doesn't, that's what you've got us for here to help you dispute your unpaid invoices on the actionable side. And it's very similar to kind of the shortage deduction that we were looking at earlier, right? So we know, okay, this invoice is related to this purchase order number, so we can go find proof documents for that with the shipping document integrations. And the burden of proof you have to provide to win these back is thankfully lower than other types of deductions. This is kind of like a deduction by omission. They just ignore the invoice and didn't pay it, right? So we provide you a copy of your invoice when we have access to that EDI data, as well as a bill of lading or a proof of delivery if you're prepaid. And this is ready to go. So as long as you can give Target some sort of proof of shipment or delivery, they'll quite often pay you back. And it's just the same way, submit dispute, and there you go. And it's on its way. I do want to point out that you can, being software, you want to try and do things efficiently. So we've got 322 of these. Let's say we knew the top 50 were all valid. I can check this box here. So I've got 50 per page. Now I've got 50 selected, or let's say I just wanted to do a few here. But we've got these other options. So we can add an attachment. Let's say there's some relevant attachment to all of these, like maybe these all were related to the same shipment, or these were all related to some sort of communication with your merchants. You can attach that here all at once. You can edit a custom explanation all at once here. And you can also submit these 50 all at once, just like that. Okay, now we've got 50 unpaid invoice disputes queued up, and they're going to Synergy right now. So that's a really efficient way to get paid back if Target is not paying you back. And we have seen kind of on the more egregious side, like some companies will have thousands of unpaid invoices. I'd say on average, most companies only have about 20 or 30 at a time. But if you do have access to our software, you can quickly figure that out. If you get on the dashboard, go to your code, filter for unpaid invoices, and check out your deductions over time for the count, and you can see that trend, and you can export that and kind of quickly sum that up and start sharing that or doing any kind of extra analysis with that if you need it. But we do see that happen quite a lot. So this has been a really fun thing to see suppliers getting a lot of money back over the past few months as we've rolled this out. So it's one that I'm particularly excited about. So if you're not using it, everyone does have access to it. So if you're a current customer and you haven't been using it, hop in, click invoices, and start checking it out. If something we mentioned up front, if you know that perhaps an invoice shouldn't be paid for some reason, perhaps an invoice was sent twice by mistake, and you had to issue a credit for one of those duplicates, or maybe an invoice had to be canceled or something, but Target has a copy on their side. We only have access to data from Target's point of view. So we're not, and Target doesn't show any of those like credits that might be issued to kind of cancel out invoices that don't need to be paid. So if that does happen, we have recently launched this archive button here. So if you know this doesn't actually need to be paid, you can click archive, and now it's archived. And if you clicked it by mistake, or you change your mind, or something happens, you just want to bring it back out of the archive, you can click unarchive. Great, now you can dispute it again. But if you click this, it is going to go over here to the archive bucket, and you'll see it. It'll revert back to whatever the previous status was. So in this case, I think this is the one we were just looking at. We can unarchive that, but the previous status was unprocessed. So it looks like Target probably knew they had the invoice, but they never matched it to a receipt. Or like we mentioned, this could be one of those cases where it was an invoice that was either sent by mistake or a duplicate or something that doesn't actually need to be paid for some reason. So you can archive those, and then on the dashboard, those do get taken out of consideration. So it's no longer going to be part of your deductions received or your not disputed totals. So it just kind of completely takes it out of consideration of everything. So it's a useful thing if, let's say, you've got maybe, the vast majority of these are valid that need to be paid, but if there's some few outstanding, you can take care of those and put them to the side so they don't affect any of your numbers if they're not real things that need to be paid. And back over on the deduction side, similar kind of thing here. We love all the automation we can provide suppliers. Check all the boxes, submit all of these at once. Or again, if you've got some that are valid, let's say, okay, these maybe the A032, the damaged defective ones, we know these were actually part of, something happened at the warehouse, but they got shipped anyway. So we don't actually need to have those sent. You can check all those and archive those and take them off your kind of actionable queue. So that is an option. I do also want to point out up here in our settings. So we've got for your auto disputing, you can choose to, auto dispute certain things. And we do that once they are ready to dispute. So we're not going to auto dispute anything that doesn't have documents yet. But once it has all the documents, if you've confirmed, one, you've checked the box to enable it. Two, you've turned on that code. And if you have a dispute limit, perhaps, so maybe you say, hey, anything under $500, like that's our upper limit, go ahead and send that off for us. We weren't going to look at it anyway. A lot of companies have kind of custom amounts right there. Real quick, we've got a question. What's the turnaround time for onboarding if we decide to become a new customer? Great question. So usually, I'd say about 2 or 3 days, depending on the size of the company, but generally that's what it is. So we ask for a dedicated Partners Online account. And once those are set up, Target takes about 48 hours to fill in the data for anything that is based on greenfield applications in Partners Online. But after that 48 hours, then we can onboard you, pull you into the application, and you can start seeing all of this stuff. And you get 10 trial disputes to try it out. Just make sure it fits with your processes. So yeah, say 2 or 3 days, maybe say 5 days, just to allow for back and forth and questions and all that kind of stuff. But it's usually quite quick. Yeah, so I think we're a little over time here. Yeah. How are we doing on time, Peter?
Yeah, we're a little over. So maybe if any of you who are on the call have any kind of last minute questions for Clint or myself, if you could get those in now, that'd be great. We've had some pretty good engagement so far and some good questions. These are our emails that we like to just kind of leave here too. If maybe write down Clint's email if you think you may have other questions that might come up later on about the product itself, about some of its features, new releases and whatnot. Go ahead and get that down. But aside from that, that's about all that we have. So thank you all for joining us. It's been a good one, and yeah, I don't think we have any more questions. So we will see you all next time. Don't forget to subscribe to the Supplier Wiki newsletter and Google Target Supplier Wiki if you have any other kind of questions about that. We've got some other good content out there about Target as well. So yeah.
Cool. Thanks, guys. See ya.